Hi everyone, this is Craig Zelzer from PCDN Global here with Manuela Guzman for season 10. I think this is episode 8, 99% sure. We're talking about building a career in sustainability. I'm delighted to have Manuela here. I'm based in Medellin, Colombia, where Manuela is originally from, but she's on the other side of the world in Bali, Indonesia. For people who have not been part of one of our podcast live streams before, basically how this works is I'll do a quick introduction and then jump right into questions while the podcast is going on, particularly on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear where you're watching from. So feel free to let us know, in the chat function, if you're watching from, whatever place. And then also we'd love to bring in questions and comment. Sorry. We'd love to hear questions and comments from the audience. So feel free to put in your tips, your questions, and we'll bring them into the conversation. This generally lasts about 50 minutes, and this is, or as I said, our 10th season. So we've done, I think, about 100, 105 episodes. So one request, if you like the podcast, hopefully you will, please share it with others. And particularly, we deeply appreciate if you might rate it on whatever platform you listen to, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever. It helps grow our impact. For the 10th season, we're doing this generally weekly, although we'll be traveling, so we're taking a 2-week break, but we have lots of great episodes coming up with the Chief of Staff of Skoll Foundation, the former director of Juanes's Foundation, impact investors, community activists, philanthropy. So basically just follow us on, or follow me on LinkedIn, or go to our website, pcdn.global. And again, please let us know. So far, welcome Mohammed from Lebanon, Christine from North Carolina. Let us know where you're watching from. So Manuela Guzman is a serial innovator and entrepreneur and impact expert. She has about 10 years experience working on all things innovation, social enterprise, sustainability. She has a degree from AFET University, which is a wonderful institution in Medellin, Colombia. During her studies, she became very engaged in sustainability, believing that every job should be an impact job. I think it's a belief that we share in common. If you haven't seen the work of Project Drawdown, they have a great guide on impact careers and sustainability careers. She's worked for many organizations, including Selena, on green kind of economy in Medellin, for Nomads Giving Back, Nomads Skillshare, and she is currently working as the head of community for Top Tier Impact, which is a global ecosystem of investors and entrepreneurs and professionals who are focused on solving the most critical issues of our time, particularly on sustainability. She's also an ocean advocate, a well-being enthusiast, I think very involved with yoga and other things. And she also supports organizations that help to improve relations with people and the planet. She also is founder of Blue Strategies, a sustainability agency, and has her own startup working kind of on all things environmental and impact in Colombia. So thank you so much for joining us, Manuela. And everyone who's watching, I'll just say hello to a few more people. And again, feel free to put in your questions and comments. Hi, Ranjan from India, Yelena from the Netherlands, Caroline from Trinidad and Tobago. So Manuela, thank you so much for joining us from beautiful Bali. Can you talk a little bit about, in terms of across the decade of your career to date, what is the type of change or changes that you've been focused on trying to influence or impact?
Awesome. Hi, Craig. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me to be part of the podcast. I'm very excited to be here. I have seen a lot of people joining us, some people that I know, some people from the Global South, also from the US. So hi, everyone. The impact that I have been focused on doing in the last 10 years, I think I have been addressing sustainability, but I think I have got to ask myself what is sustainability about, and not only get like the definition that the United Nations tell us. It's like, for me, it goes beyond that. It's asking myself every day, what is sustainability? And I try to become like more aware of different things every day. And I try to get into jobs that allow me to grow that space of impact, right? Because for me, always since I was back university, I wanted to do so many different things. So I think it's just how my system thinking is how my brain works. I can't just not focus on one thing. So yeah, I have been like, for me, it's like, I don't want to focus only on environmental things. I don't want to focus only in social things. I don't want to focus only in this aspect, in economics. I want all of them together. So That's like what I have pursued to do with my career. I have been in places and yeah, workspaces where it has been a little bit more limited. Sometimes it has been a little bit more social, sometimes a little bit more environmental. But I think right now at Top Tier Impact, that is my current job, I am in the perfect place to just kind of have a big umbrella and ask all those questions of how we can make an impact in many different fronts. So yeah, I think that's what I have been focusing on, and that's what I hope to continue doing, because I really think that everything is interconnected. Like every year I learn more, and like all different disciplines, from politics to science to even now spirituality, philanthropy, economics, politics, everything is really linked. And I think the status of the planet, of the things that we haven't got able to improve, is because we haven't been able to connect the dots between all of them. If we really see how we can connect all of them, I think we really can improve all the systems and yeah, create a better planet.
Okay, thank you. And welcome, Visheka from Berlin. And please keep letting us know where you're watching from, and feel free to start adding your questions and comments. So we've talked some in the past. And so one thing is, can you talk a little bit, how did you, as a younger person, some people say, this is what I want to work on when I grow up. So, when you were in your teens, were you thinking about sustainability, or when did you first become conscious that the planet's in crisis and that there actually are career paths to help address that?
Yes, I think it has been like a long journey. It's a little bit also my personality. When I was deciding what to study back at high school, I was like, oh, I want to study from design, environmental engineer, and all these, the same that I was speaking before. So I couldn't even like choose. I decided to go for a business management, because for me it was just kind of general. So I said, like, whatever I decide to do later on, I can apply this knowledge to everything. And it was during like, I have always like been like very like, I love nature. I have a special connection with nature. And it was during a strategy class back in the university, and University of Faith in Medellin. I had this very special teacher, and she just came up with the word sustainability. It was like about 10 or maybe even a little bit more ago, and she was explaining how we could do it from a strategic point of view. So it's not like it wasn't going to be a cost for companies. It was going actually to improve the cost of companies and do better. And for me, that was the moment when I was like, wait, what? Like, why are not all the companies already doing this? Are already implementing and measuring like the social and environmental impact of it? Why we are only measuring money, which is at the end just a paper and a system that we have created, but it's not real impact. So I think that was the first moment when I said like, oh, I wanna focus on sustainability and I wanna learn more about it. I think I became very passionate about it. And I think when you are passionate about it, like, you just learn because you enjoy it, you liked it. There is nothing that can stop you when you really do what you feel called to do it, what you love. So yeah, that was the beginning of it.
So can you talk a little bit about your career path, working in Selena, which for people who don't know, Selena is like, it's a global co-working space more focused on, let's say, digital nomads and long-term. There's a lot of connections to local communities, working for SOCOA, kind of on cross-stakeholder collaboration in Medellin around environment, founding your own startup. So just what are some of the skills that you found most useful that you used in your career so far? And how much those skills did you develop through studying, and how did you develop them also outside of studying?
Yes, so I think it came also back to university when I was going to start my career path. It was like, okay, where do I want to work? And I realized when I was applying for my internship that even back in Medellin for a business manager, there weren't many opportunities to work in the environmental or social or sustainable or CSR. Like, it wasn't a thing 10 years ago, but I decided that I really wanted to do my first internship on something related with sustainability, because I told myself, I'm gonna invest time where I'm gonna work. I'm gonna be connecting with other people every day, colleagues, and I really want to be in a place where I can learn from others and I can grow my network, but it's gonna be on the same path that I really wanted to go, even if it was hard and I had to look like researched very hard for a good internship related with environmental science. I got to do it in my same university. It was doing social urbanism, like building cities in a sustainable way. And I think was the first that's the one of the first like or advice I have for people who is looking to develop a career. I think those choices, sometimes we get desperate, and I have even better choices like making more money, but it was like doing marketing for a company that was doing, I don't know, makeup, something like that. And it was like, I don't want to work there because I'm just going to spend time there, but I'm not going to be learning from the topics that I'm actually interested about. So deciding very consciously or like where I wanted to develop my path was like the first key. I was very, very like strict to that. I want to just work on that. When I joined Selena, the first job that I applied, it was to develop almost like the CSR strategy for Medellin. But when I applied, they told me, oh, we already hired someone for this position. It was a little bit too late, but we like your profile a lot. We really think that your values resonate with what we're bringing on. And then I decided to join Selena on another different role. But because also the company, what they really represented what I really wanted to do. At that time, I wasn't pursuing. I have never pursued like a corporate job because it's just it didn't felt authentic to my journey. I wanted to do. That's why I have been connected to startups and to dynamic different environments which are more dynamic and where I can just unleash like all my creativity and all these ideas. So I joined Selena more because also the company was reflecting we had aligned a lot of values. So I was like, okay, the role, it was market research for Latam. It's very general. I might learn something, but I always had in mind, I want to jump from this department to the sustainability department later on. So the path started like that. I worked for Selena for, it was like a year, a little bit longer than that. And then after that, I got into the digital nomad world. And I think at Selena was my first work experience. And I think something that I really rescued from there is that I was able, I wasn't traveling much, but because I was working in diverse team environments, I just also developed this capacity of relate and work with people from different countries. So for example, I had a team, we had a team, and like the interns were from Africa, the Netherlands, my boss was from Brazil. So it has been always very diverse. And then I just realized that working on diverse environments was something that I also enjoyed a lot. So after Selena, it was like just learning what I was really enjoying and where I found for myself like good. And then I met Tarek Luzi, which is the founder of Nomads Giving Back. He was just at that time launching the idea, and he was like, I want to connect digital nomads with social causes where they travel to. And he wanted to create this movement on a global level. So I was like, okay, this is not exactly sustainability, but it's kind of making an impact. And we are talking with nonprofits and other companies that also want to connect like travel and tourism, which has been also part of the industries I have focusing on, because in countries like mine, like tourism, I think it's a good way to develop sustainably the country. So then I joined Nomads Giving Back, and it was another journey with digital nomads making impact. That's where we also met. So I think those were some of the skills, like always be understanding that where I was investing my time, it's like also the connections I was going to make and what I was going to learn, and following a path that felt very authentically to myself was very important to me.
Wonderful. So questions are starting to come in. So I'll ask one more for now, and then we'll start bringing in from the audience. So two things. So one, you're from Colombia and you've been living in Bali for a couple of years and traveled a lot. So what are your recommendations for people from countries where maybe their passports, it's not as easy to travel as some other countries, how to land interesting jobs or what type of skills to develop? Because a lot of people, digital nomadism is growing. Obviously, it had some negative challenges during COVID, but a lot of digital nomads still come from countries where they have passports where it's easier to travel or they have an easier time landing jobs because of their citizenship. So what are your recommendations if someone's from, I mean, there's lots of digital nomads from Colombia and Brazil and other places, but what are your recommendations for someone who wants to be a digital nomad and work in social impact and has a passport from a country where it's a little harder to travel?
Yes. I think I'm gonna be completely honest with this topic because it's also very close to my heart. I think even working at Selena and like having been immersed in this, like with working with digital nomads, of course, from being someone from Colombia, it has been always more hard for me to get into a job or to even travel because, of course, we are from a country that is from the global south and it has very different characteristics than others. I remember like myself like seeing long time ago a lot of like job opportunities in the US and in super interesting jobs in California, and I was like, how can I apply with something like this? And of course, all the jobs were when it was like 10 years ago, it was like, I don't know, social engineer or whatever super. They were sustainability jobs in the US 10 years ago. But of course, they always requested that you had to have the legal permission to work for them. And then after Selena, of course, because I knew it was possible to just work remotely, I was always pursuing a remote job in what I wanted to do. Um, but it's not hard. It's not hard because, of course, you compete, and if you do it through the traditional way, which is going up on the internet, searching for job offers, applying to them, it's going to be very hard for someone if you're going to compete with people around the world. It's going to be very hard because you're probably competing with people who have done studies in Harvard or I don't know in any other university that is well known, and of course your name is not going to resonate there. So what I learned on the journey was first, I think the first thing, this might be a little bit obvious, but I have seen that some people forget, and it's like the language is key. Learning the English is very, very important. I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, I want to have a remote job, and they don't even work on their language skills. And I am like, how is your English going? Like, this is very basic, but having your language on point is one. Right now, I think it's very, very good that we have the internet and opportunities to network not only in person but online. So connecting with people digitally and in person, if you are able in your city, if there is a digital nomad movement, is way to connect with people from other countries that it's in the topic that you want to focus your career on. Like, just is the best way. Go there and meet with them, create opportunities, and I have done this by myself, but it has been always very organically and naturally to me. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go there because I'm gonna meet people, and then it's just because I think that's also the beautiful thing about when you are working something that you're passionate. It's like you just want to meet people that is doing the same and learn from them and build those relationships and connections. So networking is very, very important, but I don't like to call it networking because yeah, it's just meeting people with your same interests. And something that I also would like to recommend to other professionals that are from the global south and that are looking to jump into these opportunities in different organizations is right now, I think education is getting very like you can access different courses for a better price. So I even did during pandemic, I did a course in Bocconi, University Bocconi. I applied for the scholarship. I did it in corporate sustainability. I already knew even more of what they were explaining to me, but of course, just having the name of a good university, of course, and it was a short course, but having the name of that on my CV, on my LinkedIn, of course, it makes a little bit difference that who like some people might not know or hear about like university in Spanish. And I think it's also good to, it's not, I have, during networking, I think I have been able to meet also leaders that have seen in me the potential and that have, like, for example, Tarek, when we met, I think he trusted myself a lot, and it was a very beautiful journey because I learned a lot of skills working with him. So I think it's like when you start connecting and networking, you can met people that will see the potential in you and will help you upscale and will, like, yeah, you can like start learning. So I think those are the main ones that I will share with others.
Wonderful. And just to say, we talk a lot in PCDN about kind of purpose-driven networking with curiosity and humility. So if you approach, and LinkedIn has problems, but it is, I think, the best platform, and there's lots of other ones. But if you approach people like, Manuel, I want to contact you because I want a job, that is just not going to work 99% of the time. But if you connect on a genuine level of interest out of curiosity and just, hey, you're doing interesting work, I'm doing interesting work, maybe let's have a 10-minute chat. I mean, like it's that curiosity. And if people haven't read the work of Adam Grant, Give and Take, or just follow his podcast, The Social Psychologist from Penn, like he does a lot of interesting work, not just on that, but it's the world is so messed up and there's so many interesting organizations and people working for change that is that kind of collaborative connecting is, gives me a lot of hope for the future. So I'll start bringing in some questions. The first one is, I'll get to Yelena next, but the first one's from Dr. Pratibha from India. I've worked in varied fields of environment like forestry, water quality, and have a good experience, but to apply for a chief sustainability officer, the skills are not sufficient. What are some of the ways you suggest people develop the skills to, whether it's a chief sustainability officer or corporate social responsibility or social impact? What are some both ways you recommend upskilling, and what are some of the skills that you think are needed for the next 5 or 10 years or 20 years to be competitive and actually make a difference?
Well, I think definitely like there are a lot of different roles that are going to be needed for the future. And I think right now the most crucial one, it depends, I mean, what you want to do or focus on. But of course, right now, just being able to measure the impact. So now we see all the movement and how investors are really bringing the ESG framework, and like everyone is like working to be able to measure better the impacts that we're doing. So I think that will be number one if you're interested in doing that. But to be honest, I think like all industries are changing towards that. So it depends on what you really want to do. And I think whatever you want to do, even if it's communications, if it's marketing, if it's measurement of indicators, you can get it in a green job. You can develop those skills. I have never worked in corporate. I think it's also, I have never worked in corporate. I think it's some, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a path that it wasn't made for myself. But I definitely, and also like conventional education, I have been most the person who goes and like I like the pocket learning, and I like to learn from podcasts, and I join courses, communities, and all these different that now I think are getting more, are being more important. But of course, if you, and the world is changing, I think right now, in the future, I don't think that the traditional ways of studying in universities is going to have the same way. But right now, I think it still matters. So applying and upscaling yourself with courses online from good universities, I think it's very important.
So thank you so much. And I put a few suggested other places. So we're small scale angel investors. TerraDo has amazing kind of climate courses, Climate Base, Amani Institute, Acumen Academy. So there's lots of places where you can upskill free or cheap, and you don't have to spend $100,000 or, depending on your country of location. I mean, in India, I have colleagues who've been to Terry University for their master's, I think, in sustainable development. So, I think I agree. I'm still a professor, but I agree with Manuel. There's more and more opportunities to upskill that don't necessarily involve a year or 2 or 3 years of, sitting in a university or, taking on that level of debt. And also fellowships are great. Lots of fellowships for short-term training programs and things like that. So the next question comes from Yelena. Can you recommend any online courses for professional development in CSR or, corporate social my brain's a little tired.
Corporate social responsibility.
Yeah, it's early for me. And ESG, environmental sustainability, and governance investing. So go ahead.
Okay. I think this is how to explain. I think it's because I go very, for example, I studied like corporate social responsibility was one of the first that I studied. Like I tried to focus on my career path was 10 years ago. I think right now the concept of it is getting a little bit obsolete. So I will focus more on ESG if I will have the opportunity to do so. And it depends on what you really want to do on ESG. If you want to go to more to the impact metrics and all that. But for example, there is like Voice Academy, and they are doing like these fund analysts for ESG courses, and I met them. I think was yeah, I met them through you, Craig, and I went to their website, and I really liked it because they bring all this expertise, and it looks that it's something very very well done. Voice Academy, yeah, exactly. Voice Academy, very well done for ESG experts coming from like a very academic background, but that you can do it in a nicer way, and it's yeah, it's like alternative education, but it's also good. And there is one master that is the one that I wanted to do. I have it on my list. I haven't done it yet. It's in Spain, in the Universidad of Valencia, the master. It's more like in eco social transition is the name. But I think I like that one because it has many. It's like studying this transition that humanity is going through, but through different disciplines, right? So that's how I liked it, like politics, economy, if the religion, arts. So it's not related with ESG. I still ask myself, is like, I'm gonna study something that probably is not gonna be useful, but I just want to do it because yeah, that's how I liked it. So that's yeah, I think
Okay.
those are my recommendations.
So just a couple other, got that one, a couple, so Kassir just is saying, the brand name can still make a big difference, although I think it is changing that increasingly employers want to see that you actually have the skills and abilities, not just a certificate. So, it depends on the sector, obviously. Bisheka is just agreeing about creating true networks. And then I don't think I have this
Yes,
person's
I
name, but
completely agree with that, Craig. But I think if you can have those skills, but then also something that just makes the click, it's gonna be great.
yes.
Because if not, sometimes it can just go to okay. So
Yes. I still love higher education, so I'm not. And then this, I don't have this person's name. I apologize, but I relate with your words. They've worked in corporate before and feel the same to move to social impact, and figure out what skills to focus on. So please keep letting us know. And I'll say this is the earliest podcast I've done, so I think my brain's not fully awake in terms of English, but with the time difference. So please keep letting us know where you're watching from, sharing your questions and comments. You can just use the chat button. So I'm going to ask a question now. So actually, in your current role, I mean, one is if you could describe a little bit what top tier impact does, and in your current role, you're like an impact community manager. And I will say that a lot of people, when they think about impact careers, they don't think about community management, but it's a huge area of community managers, and some of it, and there's some really good job boards. You can find them on the PCDN meta job list. And some community management jobs are really just pure PR. So like, let's sell more potato chips or soda and like have a passionate community. Some are more about internal communities, about like helping communities of practice focus better. But there are a lot of community jobs of sub-communities or groups helping them convene and network for impact. And there's actually some jobs I've seen that are called network weaver. So just two questions here. One is, can you talk a little bit like, what do you actually do in your current job? And then for people who want to potentially work at this intersection of communities and impact, any thoughts around upskilling, where the jobs are, what the job titles are?
Sure, awesome. So I think, yeah, the community aspect, it has been always part like of my feature, yeah, of my skills. Even if I had never like thought about it before, even at Selena when I finished, they thought of me of head of community. I think I'm very naturally like just talking to people, and I think more right now, Top Tier Impact, it's a global community, and I have also got to develop this skill of I can talk with people from many different backgrounds in the same way. So that's like one of the skills that I think they saw in me when they hired me. It was like the ability for me to just, yeah, develop myself in different environments in the same way. What I do as a head of community, it like I'm very excited about Top Tier Impact. I love Top Tier Impact because as someone who is passionate for sustainability, and that who wanted to help out with the transition of doing like better, it was a story like last year I was sitting and I was like, okay, what I want to do next with my career path, and I did a brainstorming of 100 career paths that I also met someone here in Bali, and he told me like do this exercise, and I sit down and I thought of 100 different things, and it were like very very different things from one another, and then the word impact investing came up to my mind, and I realized that if we could decide where the money goes, we could do the systemic change that is really needed right now to improve just like the planet and the people. And that's how then I want to get more into impact investing, so I'm going to learn about it. And I joined a course that I didn't start it, and then I just saw that there was this Top Tier Impact event just happening in the same week. I think it's also a little bit about serendipity, but also life happening and you deciding where you wanted to go. And I went and I met Elizabeth, which is the founder of Top Tier Impact. And I was like, if I want to get into this space just by going to their meetups, and they were welcoming professionals. So I'm a professional in sustainability, is the best way to start just building relationships there. And I got lost. The question was about what I do as head of community.
So a little bit about Top Tier Impact, and what you do, and what are the career paths and skills for people who want to work in community management impact.
Okay, perfect. So as a head of community, I am responsible of planning the events. So we host events for our TTIers. We have investors panels and discussions in different sectors. So at Top Tier Impact, we have investors, professionals, and entrepreneurs in impact and sustainability, and we cover all different sectors and all different topics, and all different geographies. So we talk from agriculture and food, mental health and well-being. So I'm in charge of preparing the events. We have a global networking town halls. These are online. We have startup pitches. We have also investors panels and networking. The next one is happening about climate tech, which is one of the main and the most important spaces right now for investing, and also for entrepreneurs who want to focus on like solving the climate change challenge that we have right now. I do that. I'm also the face of members in the community. We have a support team who also helps out with that. But if members have any question about how they can just connect with others and use their membership, I'm always here to support. They reach out to us for asking for events too, collaborations, partnerships. So I also manage that. We do interviews for applicants, so because we want to make sure that all TTIers have the same values, and all of them are really committed to impact and sustainability in the way we see it. So I do also interviews. And in terms of skills, I think also it's very good because Top Tier Impact has this startup environment. So we have it's bigger. We have like 7 people on the team, but I'm really good, and I have learned through the experiences that I have had that I do anything. If you ask me to put up an event and we have to do even the Canva for it, sometimes I don't ask anyone. I just go and do it. So, and I suggest, and then I start thinking from the logistics. Of course, there are things that I enjoy more doing or that I want to focus on more doing than others. But I have developed like a set of skills as an entrepreneur, and because I have worked in also startups and scale ups, that it's very diverse. So if you ask me to do marketing, I can do marketing. If you communications plan, I can do it too. So it's a little bit of, I would say mostly community would say it's like marketing and communications. yeah,
Okay.
that's what I do
Great.
on a daily basis.
Okay. And for some reason, we have lots of people from Kenya today. And Ivy, we're sorry about the storm that hit Malawi. It was we have people from all over the world. So thank you, everyone, for watching. So a couple of more questions, and we still have about 10 or 15 minutes. So feel free to keep your questions and comments coming in. So Andres says, what can we be doing wrong? So I think I'll just, Andres, so what is not going right, or what is going right about how sustainability is being addressed in Latin America? So both what is not being done right and what could be done better?
Oh my God. Why do you don't reply this one, Craig? You live in Medellin. I would like to hear your comments.
I mean, Andres, if you want to add any comments. So, my thoughts, I mean, of course, it all varies by sub-region and by country. So I think, the real challenge is, Manuel and I were talking before this, is that the global economic system still, despite all the talk of sustainability, there's still fundamentally so much extractive production and also just consumption that we're not adequately changing our economies. That's one thing. And, if you look at what's going on in the US, this is not Latin America, but like we bail out banks. Like we passed a big climate bill in the US, which is wonderful. This is the largest climate bill in US history. But like we're bailing out banks, but we're not investing as much as we should be, tripling our investment in green infrastructure and green careers and sustainability. So there's enough money in the world to address a lot of our challenges. It's just how that money is allocated and spent is not done right. And for Latin America, I mean, a lot of countries are heavily dependent on extractives for sustaining a certain part of their economy, whether it's, oil, timber, diamonds, well, not diamonds, but, different types of things. And it's hard to convert. Like we're not making the conversion fast enough to a green economy where it's a net zero. We're not destroying I mean, if you look at Colombia, they're trying to reduce carbon exploration and trying to do a lot of interesting things, and they're moving towards a green economy. And there's a lot of talk about sustainable tourism, but it's really hard to do in practice because people need jobs and incomes. And you can't just jump from, let's say, no more oil exploration, or think of Venezuela. Without oil exports, they would just totally implode. So it's like part of it is an economic challenge, part of it's a policy challenge, and then part of it is how do we upskill people for the careers of the future and not of the past. And I think some places are doing a better job than others. And then part of it is like, I guess a question for Manuel, and I want to hear your thought, is like the challenges are so immense. So there's lots of groups and people, like a friend of ours, Juliana Gutierrez, founded Low Carbon City in Medellin. They're amazing, and they're doing a lot to change policy and behavior. But it's like, how do you upskill people? I mean, it's such a big question, so I don't know. But Manuel, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think Latam, or what I have felt most in my country, is also the lack of trust. When you are working really with the government and with corporations, even if they say, oh yes, we're working on sustainability, at the end you can see that they have these behaviors of, it's people don't trust each other, they don't know how to work together, they really want to take advantage of the situation. So I think I really find very admirable people who work in countries like mine, and others that have the same characteristics, and they are really trying to make a change, even if they find it very challenging, because it's very challenging. It's very frustrating. It's very sad just going into those meetings and like understanding that people just met, they say that they're going to do this, but they are just, there is no trust on what people is doing, and there is no action. So I would love for the people who is looking to develop a career, and how we can, just by being ourselves and by putting what we really think and speaking out loud, and of course focusing more actions in that than words, because that's also something that we have seen. People tend to speak a lot about what they're doing, but no, what are the actual actions, and just focusing on what we can do. I think that's how we can improve things in countries and like mine, and of course regions like Latam.
And I'll just make two more comments. So, Colombia is the second most biodiverse country in the world. So it's amazing. But something that frustrates me, and Medellin is doing some really interesting things. They are, we have more electric buses, electric taxis. They're building green roofs and green, doing a lot of planting and more really good public transportation here. But two things that bother me that, you can't, part of the challenge is you can't just voluntarily change your way to sustainability. It has to be the balance of industry, policy, regulation, because industry is not going to change fast enough if we just say, oh, the IPCC report just came out, the last one yesterday, and it says we're in dire straits. So everyone knows the world is in trouble. We can't just say voluntarily, let's get together and make the world better. It's not going to happen fast enough. So two examples in Medellin. One is, it's called the City of Eternal Spring. And so in my opinion, I'm not in charge of any policy here. Like every building should be required to have solar, everybody, or it should be tax incentivized. And very few buildings have solar. And it's even in our complex, there's a whole debate, like they're starting to think about solar, but it should have been installed from the start because it can just save so much money and resources. And there's also a lot of greenwashing. I've talked to green builders in Colombia, who work in green construction, and they say like there's a lot of like superficial greenwashing. Oh, like we care about the environment, but like to really build a green building or green transportation, so it's challenging. All of the materials are here in terms of sun, sustainability, brilliant architects and designers. It's not happening fast enough. But let's bring in some other questions. So Manraj, what do you think are the sectors of the economy have the greatest potential for growth in green or sustainable jobs?
Awesome. I think, of course, the main one is the energy. Energy is, we're seeing with the IPCC. I think everyone is just, even if you weren't into climate change right now, you're noticing that the world is getting warmer, that there are like a lot of situations happening in many different parts of the world. So I think energy is the first one. At the end, it doesn't matter which industry it is, but where the energy comes from. And I think renewables are going to have they're already needed. Like companies, even if they have the capital to do the transition, that's solutions that they are looking for. Climate tech, which is also renewables, but right now I would say I don't like this because it's the same. We are just addressing what's most urgent right now, but I think we should look at it as a whole and like what's the common behavior that has brought all the different problematics, which is of course climate change, loss of biodiversity and all that, and then we should try to solve them all and like analyze more from a systemic level. But I think how we work in humanity, because of course there is also lack of just synchronization for a common goal. So it's like reducing the emissions, of course, and like biodiversity is also one of the pressing challenges that we have. In like, I don't know, we have lost like 80% of biodiversity in just like 70 years or I think less, which is scary. It's like we're gonna be only humans in the world, and I am afraid that if we don't start connecting why do we need biodiversity for medicine and for different things, then we're going to have the same problem. And just like that. And of course, at the social level, I also think like we should be putting people more at the core too of these strategies. And I think sometimes it just like, okay, people have jobs, that's fine. And that's not fine because it can also be improved in many different ways. So I was saying that which other sector, I think, everything related with technology and reducing emissions. But of course, agriculture, I think the four that we focus on top tier impact, which is climate and infrastructure, agriculture and food, mental health and well-being. I think it's something very, very, very important. And I hope it gets even more relevant because that's where it came from. So.
Okay, so a couple more questions. So Kennedy from Kenya talks about, he loves the concept of sustainable traveling and helped create a community called Wanderlust that aims at promoting sustainability and traveling to be more green cautious. What has been your experience around sustainable travel? So is it an oxymoron? Because, people might have seen recently Medellin was just rated one of the top cities in the world for tourism. And, we were in the New York Times and there's been lots of articles about Medellin, and the tourism brings in a lot of, and we're actually, I think now the #1 city in Colombia, even more than the coastal cities for tourism, which is a big thing. And the tourism brings in lots of resources and money and jobs and interesting people, but there's a lot of negative things in terms of some people come here for Sin City to do bad things. There's like a certain percentage of people come here for it's to party. And then there's also just a lot of cheap mass tourism that's not about sustainability. It's about coming in for a few days and just consuming. So what are your thoughts about kind of sustainable tourism? Can it actually work? And, what are your thoughts about both careers and businesses in that area?
I think we from working from Nomads Giving Back and Nomads Skillshare, where we focus on sustainable tourism. It's something that we also question ourselves, and I think maybe what you were saying about what is going on in Medellin right now, it's same as Bali. I think are places where we attract more digital nomads first, because they are cheap and they can find high quality of lifestyle, but by living in our countries like we are. I think the best way is just always giving the option and raising awareness about how we can do it better. I don't think it's something that we can stop. I like to think about it. It's I don't like to think about it, but I think it's neocolonialism, and we are always going to do it because humans are just going to look for what is best for them. So if it's better for them to go to Medellin and have a better life, or a cost, a lower cost, or for me to come and migrate, and for all digital nomads, we're gonna even look for that. But it's okay, I am doing this because it's good for me, but how can I do it? How can I bring awareness to the things that I am doing as a traveler and express that to the people that surround me and embody it? So I try to be very conscious about the locals here. How can I just interact with them? How can I support local businesses? How can I support businesses that are taking into account the sustainability aspects, the social the local community. But I think it's sometimes it's how we can it's about generating awareness and being aware ourselves of the movement, I think so.
So we have time if anyone else has a question they want to put in. I'll ask, I think, 3 quick final questions. So the first one is just about top tier impact. If people are interested, let's say whoever's watching this or listening in the future to the podcast episode, a little bit more about what type of people join. I mean, we've talked about investors and entrepreneurs and, cost and how someone potentially becomes a member, or if not a member, how can they participate in some events?
Amazing. Yes. So at Top Tier Impact, yes, we have investors. So it's VCs, fund managers, and we have startups, founders of startups, and professionals in impact and sustainability. The membership is $350 a year. And we offer different opportunities to help them connect, because what we believe at Top Tier Impact is that if we can bring these people in the same space and we can accelerate their meaningful connections between them, the whole impact space can grow globally. So we do many different events, and all our events, we have some events that are only for our community members, but we also have a lot of events that are prioritize the access to our members, but we also open it to potential members, so people who is interested in joining. We have currently an ambassador program in 20 cities. We're going to have 35 next month, from Berlin, New York, Nairobi, Mexico City, Bangkok, Bali, Berlin, San Francisco, LA. Our ambassadors are in charge of doing 4 events a year. So you can expect in those cities, you can research them online in our website where our ambassadors are, and you should expect dinners or different type of events to connect with other, we call them TTIers, so it's our members. And it's what we were speaking also at the beginning, Craig. We think that for the same is for TTI is It's about anyone who wants just to connect in the impact space, that it's in between these categories, right? So we have some corporates, we have also founders and investors, and yeah, those are the type of events. We also are in LinkedIn, in Instagram. Feel free to just go check our website and connect with us through our different channels.
Okay. And then my last two questions is, and you're getting lots of thanks and appreciation for sharing your insights and comments and reflections. So one just question, what are you currently doing that could be something you're watching on Netflix or whatever channel that has nothing to do with impact, or it could be a book you're reading or something you're working on upskilling. So like, what is something you're currently doing that either totally for fun has nothing to do with impact, or something you're upskilling on?
Okay. Yeah, I wonder, like, because most of the time I find myself, I'm so passionate about this that then I'm going to have fun. And then I ended up reading about the same topic and I was like, no, this is work. And then it has been hard for me to divide it. But I would say that what I am doing right now, you mean for upskilling, or it can be anything? Anything. Free diving. I love doing free diving and like learning how to. I love the ocean, so as Craig said at the beginning, I have been an oceans advocate for a while, and I always have liked to go snorkel by myself and seeing the marine life and the corals, and it inspired me a lot. But it's all connected, you see. It's like, it inspires me too. So I have been taking free diving classes lately.
For people who don't know what free diving is, can you describe what that means?
Free diving is meditating underwater. That's how I describe it. So it's there is the sport. So it's about holding your breath, just taking one breath and then swimming in the ocean and going down. So trying to go deeper. And some people is just professional at it, so they do like 50 meters, 100 meters, I think. So is the record.
Okay.
And 11 minutes.
Wow. And what are you comfortable with so far? How deep or how long do you go for?
I just took my beginner, but it was like 10 meters and I did it easy. So I think I can do maybe a little bit more in the next course. And I have done it. It was 2 minutes and 20 without breathing.
And do you wear goggles or something, or like on your eyes?
Yes.
Okay.
So
you get to see everything. Yeah. Okay. And then my last question is, it's what helps you stay hopeful and optimistic given all the challenges, and what are your recommendations for others? How to stay resilient, whether they're working on migration or sustainability or any type of change making. Like, what do you recommend to not burn out and just be like, it's all pointless because the world is messed up?
Yeah, I think I have had like many different moments of my life. I have been sometimes that I was like, yes, this is like very, 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 very bad. There is nothing we can do. But I think right now I have also come to, and I also tell people this, maybe as a Colombian, I am more resilient. I don't know. So like we learn how to live in the struggle. So it's like, I think we're always going to find a way to sort it out. And I just focus on the things that I can do for myself every day, which is dedicating my time and my work on the topics I'm passionate about. And that gives me peace. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen. But as far, if I can just keep doing what I feel good doing, it's going to be fine. And I think it has a ripple effect because now I get to meet with a lot of inspiring people. So every time I just jump out of a call with someone who is doing something great, or like just like bringing the positivity, like we have to learn like to be aware of the bad news and just seeing, okay, this is the challenges that we have, but also focusing on the great news and the people that is bringing solutions or wanting to make a change, and we're gonna go through it all. So that's how I remain positive.
Okay. Thank you so much, Manuela, and everyone for watching, from a lot of people from Africa and Latin America. And so thank you so much for your questions and energy. Please do check out Top Tier Impact, PCDN, Nomads Giving Back, Selena, And as said, we have over 100 other episodes with amazing people like Manuela from all parts of the world. So please, you can see the podcast on our website or any podcasting platform. We always appreciate if you share and review it. And again, we'll take a little bit of break because we're traveling. So I think our next podcast is going to be April 12th, but we have amazing guests coming up through the end of June. And then we'll take a little break for until season 11 in the fall. And then Manuela, my actually last question, just what's your preferred channel for people to stay informed about your work? Is it LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, both for you personally and let's say for top tier impact, and same for top tier impact?
Yes, LinkedIn for myself on top tier impact. I also use Instagram a lot, so feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Okay, and thank you, Deborah, and you're getting lots
thank
of
you,
thank
everyone,
yous.
And thank you, Craig. Yeah, okay. So good to see everyone.
Okay, thank you so much.